Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Executive Table Talk. I'm JT O'Donnell, founder and CEO of Work It Daily, and the host of the show. And this week, our topic is the single word that defines your professional development focus for 2023. So, as always, I have an amazing group of executives here to talk about their one word, and I challenge all of you to join in the conversation. So, if you haven't chosen your word yet, maybe you want to listen up today and think about that. And if you do know your word for the year, feel free to put it in the chat and we can talk about that as well. But let's bring them all up because it's always good to chat with this crew. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi,
Everyone
everyone.
doing well today? Yeah, excellent. So we're talking about this one word of the day. I was pretty impressed that you all came up with it really quickly. And I'm excited to hear what each of you have chosen and why. So who did I pick on first? Let's see who I went with first.
Lisa.
And drum roll is Lisa Perry, Global Digital Marketing Executive. Lisa, let's talk about 2023 and your focus on the word abundance.
Abundance, yes. I'm focusing on 5 areas: abundance of connections, fulfillment, wealth, success, and happiness. And I'm very detailed on this. I've laid out a plan for this to clearly define what this means for me, a detailed plan of what it will take to achieve, and tracking my progress. And so let me give you an example of this in 2 areas: connections and wealth. So for connections, I am looking to increase my social media connections in 2003 by 40%. And how I'm going to do this is posting 2 to 3 times across LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok, and reach out to 100 people per week to connect.
Nice.
And I am tracking my progress on a weekly basis. Now, in terms of wealth, I am looking to increase my investment stream by 65% in 2023. And this is very aggressive, but I'm going to reach for the stars here. And I'm doing this through 3 areas. One, I just recently launched a book, How to Develop a Brand Strategy, available on Amazon. And I am reaching out into new areas and learning new things in terms of how to promote that book. And I am working on my second book now, and I am looking at video stream content to develop in terms of brand marketing. And this is just January. So these are 3 things that I am aggressively pursuing in January. I am being open to other areas in terms of how to bring in that investment stream. So there's the intentionality, the detailed plan, and I am tracking this on a weekly basis. And I do want to say I am being very intentional about this word. I am focused, I am motivated, and I am driven, because there are things that come in that catch you off guard in terms of distractions, busyness, fear, intimidation. And I want to give you an example of this. Last week, I was on a high. Abundance and I were aligned professionally. This week, I was knocked off my pedestal. I had intimidation. I had fear. I was not feeling abundance. And so this plan of being focused, being motivated, I've got abundance written up in my office. I am looking and being intentional every day. I am writing things down. I am trying to stay focused. And so trying to do something every day, trying to be focused about it so that you don't get that fear and intimidation coming in to your life and getting you off track when you have bad weeks. That's the intentionality that I'm talking about.
I love it. So you know what they say, that we find what we seek, right? And so you've been, that intentionality of being focused on what you seek is huge. I also love to the detail of what you've mapped it out, because all of those activities you can visualize. And a lot of people maybe have heard about law of attraction and visualization. That's all just, kind of fancy language for planning it out and being able to see yourself doing what you're planning.
Right.
So it's really not rocket science, and you've got that down on lock. What I think is interesting is you talked about being in sync with abundance last week, but maybe not feeling it so much this week. I heard a great phrase this week, which was, we have 100% success track record with getting through our toughest days. It's true, right? We get through them. So this is temporary, and you're already working towards bringing yourself back. So I love that. And I hope people take away from that and really embrace it.
And I just want to say one more thing. In 2 weeks, 80% of people will have dropped their New Year's resolutions, right? So being intentional about what you want to do and to state your company, working it daily, right?
Yeah.
Being intentional about making small impacts on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's true. And I appreciate you mentioning that. And I think people, if you don't know where the company name Work It Daily came from, it's from a method that I've taught for 20 years called the GLOW method, which I developed when I became a coach. And it stands for gain perspective, illuminate the goal, own your actions, work it daily. And literally what Lisa just defined is her working the GLOW method, right? She's got it all mapped out. And I can tell you in 20 years of doing this, when you follow that plan, it works out. So Lisa, I love it. And thank you for the honesty too. I think it's so important for us to see that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And there are going to be periods where you're not feeling as gung-ho, right? But you're going to get through it. And I have no doubt, given your amazing track record for last year, I have absolutely no doubt that you're going to be back at it again this year. So let's move on and talk to, let me get it going the right way. Michael, because Michael, your word for the year is articulate. And the definition of that, and I appreciate you sharing it, is expressing oneself readily, clearly, and effectively. So why is articulate so important to you this year?
It's important to me because it's very important we talk about being intentional. You have to express yourself with vigor and you have to be believable. Just like if you're in an interview situation, and I tell people all the time, there's one question you will definitely be asked. Tell me about yourself. Yeah. You will definitely be asked that question. And I'm working with a group right now, and there's so many people say, don't ask me that. I'll skip that question. I mean, there's no way you can skip a question like that. You have to be persuasive and illuminating. You have to give a response that's persuasive and illuminating. Also, if you have a beautiful, I'm very big on graphics and expressing different kinds of ways to express your business through visuals. Well, it's nice to have that visual, but also you need to be able to, give some sort of articulate what it's about and what it means. So that's why that word is so important to me. You have to be believable and communicate and make it understandable for your audience. So that's why I'm working on articulation.
Well, I mean, you're off to a great start. For those of you that have watched ETT on a regular basis, Michael's been here multiple times and you're very articulate, but I love the idea that you're saying, I want to take that to the next level, that there's value in me finding my voice and communicating consistently. And what makes me excited to hear that is that there are a lot of people listening to this that are afraid to speak up, that are afraid it makes them look like a narcissist, or that they're acting like a guru or a know-it-all. And you are none of those things, Michael. I think
thank you.
Absolutely. And I know everyone's nodding with me here. You're so inclusive and kind and positive. And so I love that that's your word, because I hope everyone listening to this can realize anyone can make that their focus this year. And that's going to help you in your career. It's really coming down to networking and connecting. And if you can't articulate, it's not going to happen, right?
Right. Absolutely. Thank you.
I love it. Great job. So I love that one. I'm sure we'll see more from you. Let's move on and talk to Anna. Anna, connection is your development focus for 2023. So I like that as we kind of move through the process here from articulate to connection. Tell us why this is so important.
JT and team, as I was, closing the year and reading the report from the Surgeon General on everything workplace, mental health, and well-being, he identified 5 different areas, but one in particular struck a chord with me, which was connection and community. And connection is such an important piece of the fabric of us as humans that I thought I did an analysis of my own connections and how frequently have I reached out to, the people in my life, the people that are important and relevant in a way that became personal. And so for this year, I thought I need to become much more connected in a personal way. And therefore, just like our good friend Lisa here, I struck not as ambitious, but probably I should, up it up a bit after that great presentation on the topic. Is I thought at least once a month, I'm going to reach out to someone in my life that, whether it's a colleague that has made a difference in my life, a family member, somebody that has had an impact in my life, and just recover and rebuild, and just make those connections even more robust. I think there's something very important to be said. There is a beautiful 84-year or 85-year study from Harvard that basically talks and goes into, it's a longitudinal study of looking at a particular group of people and their descendants, their family members, etc., over a period of a very important number of years, as I just mentioned. And the commonality for health and happiness in that particular study is personal connections. Mm-hmm. So I went from the very impactful, very a little bit tough pill to swallow of the report of the Surgeon General on all the very important areas that we need to pay attention to from a workplace and well-being perspective, to finding this awesome, piece of research from Harvard that talks about, this awesome nugget of wisdom. So personal connections.
So you made me smile because that was actually mine for 2022.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. And so when I saw yours, I couldn't wait to hear what the thought process was behind it. And we were somewhat similar. For me, I was feeling so disconnected after 2021 and the beginning of 2022 from work. We were remote. Conferences still weren't going on. Things weren't happening. And it scared me. I felt like I was losing my edge and my creativity. And all I could think was what usually drove that was connection. Yeah. And so I started just every day finding people similar to Lisa that I could connect with on LinkedIn and, rekindle that conversation, get them on a stream, whatnot. And it's been transformational. One, I've got my mojo back. I've got that creativity, that passion back. It's been amazing for the business. Just, and people are just happy to talk again, so I'm excited that you're doing that because I have a feeling you'll be saying the same things that I'm saying right now. You're going to see really great, results from that. But it made me happier to really reconnect with people again. So important.
Yes.
Love it. Great one. Okay. So let's keep this party going. Now we're going to move on to John Shambari. Let's talk about, oh gosh, I can't hit these right today. I'm not a really good tech person today, folks. Here we go. There's John. John, you talked about investment. Specifically, how do we invest participants in the professional development that they receive? So walk us through how that connects with your work and why that's important.
Sure. Thanks, JT. So as some of you know, I am an education coach. I work with teachers and school leaders on their development practice. And one thing I really want to work more on in 2023 is definitely the co-investment of the people that I'm coaching and working with. Because the reality is, as a coach, whether in education or in any field, JT, I think you would relate to this. Yes, you can give advice. Yes, you can give suggestions. But the person you're coaching really has to buy into it. They have to be vested in it because they're the ones that are going to need to do the heavy lift, right? So, and it's more than, or coaching should be more than, okay, this is what I think you should do. But I want to think about more concretely how I could be invested in their success. Particularly, JT, you had mentioned feeling disconnected. Many educators today feel very disconnected. So I need to do more than just tell people what to do. I need to be a partner and kind of almost like their Sherpa in a way and work with them through that. So in addition to observing practice and seeing what people are doing really well in their teaching and where there might be an opportunity for growth, how can I get in there and co-plan with folks? Right. How can I model the practices that I'm suggesting that others use? And I really liked how Anna was talking about connection, because I will be able to invest further in the success of the people that I work with and I coach through the ways of connection that Anna mentioned. And also Michael talked about articulation. Clearly, if I'm better at co-planning with folks and modeling best practice. I need to be able to articulate that to do that. So I was really excited about hearing what my peers were saying, because I think it's very relevant to this concept of investment. And then ultimately the ultimate prize of good investment is the abundance that Lisa was talking about. Yeah. So that's what I hope to do in 2023.
So, and as somebody who's been coaching for over 20 years, one thing that I'll be really interested to hear from you as you go through this journey, something that I had to get dialed in on was knowing if somebody was coachable at this point in time and articulating that to them. So I found that I had to get to a place where I could assess someone and we could have that connection, that conversation, but I also could look at them and say, you're not ready for this. You're not in the right headspace for this. And to me, that's what good coaching is. I'm not going to tell somebody what they want to hear. I'm going to tell them what they need to hear. So being able to look at them and say, I'm not going to invest in this with you because you're not there. And then you're going to blame me. And it's because in all my years of doing this, I know what it takes mentally. I know where you need to be to actually get results. And you're not there. And I found that when I was able to do that, I felt so much better about the time I did invest in the people that I partnered with. And I also got a lot more success because they were at the right place. They were ready. They did do the work, but I think that comes through everything you just said, John, connecting with people, getting them to trust you, and then assessing them and having that conversation and saying, I want to invest in you, but I don't think you're there. And let me tell you why. Tell you that can be such a wake-up call for people, to turn in it. You as an educator, I think that's such a big part of what educators do to students, right? So such a good piece of it. But I'm with you. We've got to invest in, because we can't just push our agendas. Right? It's got to work both ways. We've got to get them in there. Loved it. All right. So the last person on the roster here is my good friend Mark, and yet again I'm putting these in the wrong direction. There we go. There you are, Mark. I think we're rounding it out nicely with commitment. You're saying do the best I can at any one moment, striving to be better and letting go of those things I can't control. What prompted you to decide to focus on commitment for 2023?
Yeah, that's a really good question, JT. So I guess I'm finding myself life, where I am currently. You just mentioned headspace. And what I'm realizing is I'm at the point where I feel the need to maybe reframe life, those things in life, in maybe a more life affirming way. Yeah. So over the holidays, for instance, it's the holidays. So I watched that Netflix documentary called Stotz, something that Jonah Hill directed. Yeah. I don't know whether anybody's seen it. And again, it's Jonah Hill. The documentary is about Jonah Hill's therapist and how helpful this person has been using the techniques that they use. And to be honest, wasn't particularly helpful to me, but it did pique my interest to find out more. So there's this guy, Phil Stotz, which is the therapist. He's got a person that is his business partner, a guy called Barry Michaels. They've written a couple of books. I picked one of their books up. It's called Coming Alive. And again, I'm just kind of reading through it for stimulation. It's the holidays. And there's a number of things in there. I don't know whether you've ever had the feeling, or anybody else has, where you read certain things and it kind of stops you in your tracks, and the hairs on the back of your neck rise up and you think, oof, that's something I'm not doing, right? Or oof, I thought I was the only person that did that, but apparently, that's the right thing to do. So for me currently, and I guess it's that point, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. This is currently one of those moments. Maybe different next week, but again, I'm reading this book, and there was a sentence in it that really kind of stopped me in my tracks, and I got it in front of me because I want to read it out. I don't want to do these guys a disservice for getting it wrong. So the sentence goes, the reason you can't commit to anything is because it hurts you too much if it fails. Success means putting everything on the line, and if it doesn't work out, doing it again and again, no blaming and no excuses. So the word for me was commitment, but allied with that is this idea of success, right? So, and like I said, defining things in a more life affirming way, right? So if I want to be, is successful getting a bigger house and a faster car, or is it, keeping going and doing things, working things daily? So that's why I came up with the commitment. And again, when I look at it, it's like, does that mean, Mark, that you've never been committed to anything? No, I think I've, like anybody else, right? Yeah, there's things that I've committed 100% to, and there's things that I know that I've not committed 100% to. But it's that idea of, the success is growth by keeping going, right? It's not keeping going, but it's a grind where it's just, you're just going along and it's flat, or you're going along and it's getting lower and lower. It's, you are growing and you're moving upwards, and that's what success would be. So that's kind of why it resonated for me. And again, just to finish, and part of me writing it down, it was less to kind of share it with everybody else, to say, you guys should be as committed as I'm going to be this year. It was as much like an epistle to myself to write, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to take it out of my head, and I'm going to put it on a piece of paper, and then I'm going to share it with some people. And again, not really to hold me accountable, because I think we all know that 100% commitment is something that you require to do it on a second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day basis. But again, just to kind of externalize the feelings and see how that feels. Yeah. So I appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Well, one, I'm going to have to go look at the Netflix special and the books. That sounds fascinating. But I think hopefully for everyone here, it really speaks to the fact that we're all stepping back and reevaluating. I think in ways that people never have before, even year over year with, what are my plans? I think what your point is well taken, Mark. It's usually been more of the same. The next promotion, the next move up. And everyone's getting off the treadmill, off that hamster wheel and saying, wait a minute, what does right look like for me in 2022? Or as you said, what does success to me look like? I don't think that you can articulate that in a moment. I think when you get off the hamster wheel and you realize you've been on autopilot, like I think most of us have until a pandemic hit and our whole worlds were turned upside down, it doesn't mean that you know exactly the direction you want to go in. So the idea of committing to even figuring that out in 2023 seems like an ambitious goal, is figuring out, who am I? What do I really want? And then, like you said, that fear of failing. And yet the only way to guarantee you'll fail is not trying, versus if you just keep getting up every day and experimenting. As we always say, my writing partner, Dale, has said for years, experiments never fail. So, that commitment to continuing experimenting, I absolutely love that. But I appreciate the vulnerability, Mark, because I can't imagine that there isn't anyone here, certainly all our teammates here, but anybody listening in today, I don't think anyone's got it all figured out right now. Right. We're all really stepping back and looking at things completely differently. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, look, again, it's certainly not kind of woe is me or anything like that. It's just that, reevaluation of things. So one of the things that, we've spoken about over the past few weeks, this group's spoken about, right, is this idea of an ambition recession. Yes. If you start to think about it, it's like, well, hang on a second. Is part of that conundrum, what does ambition mean? Mm-hmm. Right. Again, there's so much information available to people these days, right? The whole world has been through, something we probably thought wouldn't happen in terms of COVID and all the consequences that means. And all of a sudden, again, it's, is it a recession of ambition, or is it actually ambition's changing? Yeah. Success is changing, and therefore, what seemed to be ambitious previously is losing energy. And that's just, that kind of appears as some kind of recession, but actually that energy is looking for something else. Absolutely. That is still as fulfilling and kind of gives you the oomph to keep going, but it's actually something else. And maybe it's a little, again, without kind of getting all metaphysical, maybe it's a little bit more spiritual, because the experiences of the last few years of, again, certainly for me, right, you realize, if you didn't already, right, we hang from a gossamer string, right? Just because we're here today doesn't necessarily we're going to be here tomorrow. And is there a little bit more that I can be getting out of things? So that's kind of why it kind of resonated for me. And again, like I said, it's not kind of some kind of woe is me. I find it really quite exciting. Yeah. Kind of what's next. So.
Well, I would say the word ambition is definitely in that phrase ambition recession has got a bit of a negative connotation. And I think a lot of people, the hustle culture is really out right now. People are over that. I think ambition ties with hustle. You all as executive leaders are up against a huge challenge this year in terms of tapping into people's energies and getting them in motion and, rowing in the same direction and wanting to build that momentum. I think it's going to be a real testament to those that can get people excited about work over the next year. There was a study that came out yesterday, folks. If you haven't seen it yet, LinkedIn just shared their new rising jobs report.
Yes.
And these are the jobs that are really climbing in the rankings. And there were 25 of them. And one of them that they noted was an employee experience manager. And this is a job that is solely dedicated to making sure employees are having a positive experience in the job from the getting hired all the way through. And I think the fact that a job like that, a title like that is now a thing and growing really speaks to that fact that we've got sort of an epidemic going on in the workplace right now of disengagement and people struggling to, again, find that mojo. So should be interesting to see which companies embrace that and take charge. Definitely check out LinkedIn's top rising jobs report. You might find a new job in there that you want to pursue for sure. But I want to circle back to each one of you because I can't believe we've plowed through our 30 minutes, but I think it's really important. Lisa, is there, and I'm going to pick on you first and put her on the spot and everyone else gets a chance to think ahead. So Lisa, sorry to do this to you. But when you think about a word that is that you want to avoid this year, when you think about a word, so you think, we talked about ambition being a dirty word for a lot of people. Is there any word that you're really trying to remove from your vocabulary or not focus on?
That's not it's not one word. But that's okay. That's not my responsibility. I am so tired of hearing that. Yeah. With the rise of layoffs and organizations becoming much more slimmed down and less employees, people have to dive in and figure out how to get things done. And we are all trying to figure out how to do more with less. And yes, it may not be your responsibility, but just let's figure out how to get it done. I'm just tired of, it's not my responsibility.
Yeah, it's not my job. That's not my job. Yeah.
I, as a leader, as an executive in the organization, am doing a ton of crap that is not my job. But we are all trying to achieve a common goal, a common thing to drive that organization. Let's figure it out. Let's get it all done. Yeah. It'll all sort out at the end. Let's all join together and get it done. Stop saying it's not my job.
I love it. I love it. Michael, what about you? Any words you're trying to avoid?
Yeah, my word I'm trying to avoid would be same. Sometimes people want to keep everything the same. And life doesn't work that way. You can't. I'd rather fail than keep things the same way because failure is part of success. Failure, you have to, I was on a plane last week and I was thinking about, wow, you can get here from there in 3 hours. But, the Wright brothers, they didn't get it right the first time they went out. They crashed, they had failures, but they kept going and they got it right. But so I would say I don't want to keep things the same. I want to go out and push the limits and grow and just keep going.
I love it. Break things and make them better. No status quo for you. That is awesome. Awesome. Anna, what about you?
One word that is definitely very present for me is burnout. Not only for, in terms of trying to avoid that for myself, but also around me. And if I were to look at a continuum of our topic at hand and the word of choice, I'll take the opportunity as well to, send an invitation to anybody that wants to reach out and connect from the people that have been laid off. If they want to talk, I know a lot of my ex-colleagues from at least 5 or 6 just yesterday reached out from the layoff from Microsoft yesterday, but evidently they're not the only ones. The point is connect, be human, and try to avoid burnout at all costs. So take care of yourselves, please.
Perfect. Great response. John, what about you? What are you avoiding?
So along the lines of what Lisa was saying, I can't stand hearing that won't work here. We can't do that here. if you don't try, you will fail, right? So you have I don't know exactly what the expression is, but you fail 100% of the times you don't try, right?
That's right.
And it also relates to what Michael's saying. I think we get into this habit of always doing the same thing, in and out, in and out. Change is uncomfortable. Change is scary. But if we're going to improve ourselves, if we're going to fix problems in this world, we have to mix it up. We have to try new strategies. So that's one of the reasons why I do want to invest further in the people that I work with, because how do I help them see the importance of change, and that, yeah, maybe this strategy will work here if we actually try it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. And Mark, what about you?
Well, I just want to acknowledge what Lisa said. Just generally, I'm here. We're here to get things done. And when somebody says to me it's above my pay grade, you got to realize I've just put you into that box that says you're not really going anywhere. So just an FYI. My word, I think, JT, is distraction or distractions. So I'm very, very mindful. And again, hopefully it's not just me, right? But I'm doing something. Then all of a sudden there'll be something in my head, and it seems like the most important thing at that moment. I really need a cup of tea. I'm English, right? So I need a cup of tea to keep going for another half an hour. And of course, so then I'll nip upstairs, and then I'll make a cup of tea, and then next thing you know, it's half an hour later, right? And before you know it, the day's over. So I am on a second by second, minute by minute, moment by moment. I'm trying to keep those distractions out of my head.
Well, I think
right?
that's fair. I mean,
right.
I think that distraction has really risen for everyone. Just the remoteness that we've been through. The use of where's my phone, right? The technology. So I think that's a fair one, Mark. That probably everyone should be thinking about removing this year, 2023. It's awesome. Team, as always, amazing job, folks. Please jot down right now. Do you see these names on the screen? Michael Willis, John Shambari, Anna Smith, Lisa Perry, Mark Taylor. You can find all of them on LinkedIn.
Yes.
These people are amazing executives. Just send them a custom connection request, right? Just say, hey, I saw you on Executive Table Talk. Can we connect? They really know their stuff. They all come from these incredible backgrounds. So please make sure you go connect with them while you're here on LinkedIn right now. Go right over and connect with them now. And of course, come back next week. We always have a new topic on Thursdays, and we always have an amazing panel of executives. So thank you to everyone. Have a great week. And remember, until next time, if you want to win, you got to work it daily.
Thank you.